Ladies and gentlemen, kindly please turn off your microphone for smoothness of program. You are encouraged to open your camera during the session. Thank you for joining us this evening. The event will start shortly. Announcing the arrival of Speaker of the House, Sister Syafiqah Yusriha, fellow judges, debaters from Universitas Muhammadiyah Yogyakarta, UMY, and debaters from International Islamic University Malaysia, IIUM. Welcome to both teams. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh and a very good evening. Let's begin our session with Kitab Al-Fatihah. Amin, Ya Rabbal Alamin. Our welcome I bid to lecturers and fellows from International Islamic University Malaysia, IIUM, invited debaters, Speaker of the House, and fellow judges, collaborators from Universitas Muhammadiyah Yogyakarta, UMY, Program Manager, organizing committees, and dearest participants. I, Nur Syafiqah binti Raza, a second-year student from Kuliah of Nursing from International Islamic University Malaysia, Kuantan campus, are delighted to be a master of ceremony for today's event. Dear audience, now let's proceed with the most awaited debate session. This debate will be conducted in English, and we feel honored to have both the debate teams from UMY and IIUM here this evening with us. So now, without further ado, I will pass the floor to our Speaker of the House for today, Sister Nur Syafiqah binti Yusriha, to lead the slide. Sister, the mic is yours.
Thank you, our Master of Ceremony, for this evening session, Sister Nur Syafiqah binti Raza. The House will come to order. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and good evening to everyone present here today. I am pleased to welcome you to the virtual English MOOC debate between International Islamic University Malaysia's IIUM team and Universitas Muhammadiyah Yogyakarta's UMY team of Mirror of Health Program 2021. The motion being debated on today is, this House believes that the COVID-19 pandemic has affected the education quality of students around the world. Before we proceed, I would like to inform you regarding general rules and regulations applied for this debate. First, each of the debaters has 7 minutes to present their stand. Second, each debater for both teams must open the camera during the debating session. Third, in order to raise a POI, point of information, debaters must turn on their microphone and say POI. You only need to say POI once so that you don't disturb the current speaker. If the POI is accepted, the debaters are allowed to turn on their microphone and conduct the POI. If the POI is rejected, the debater immediately turns off their microphone and continues listening to the debate. Fourth, fellow judges will give one question for each team at the end of your motion. You will be given 5 minutes to answer the question. Fifth, the judges will give comments and present the result at the end of the debate. Dear audience, please ensure you mute your microphone and turn off the camera during the debating session. Present here today, I would like to invite debaters representing the government from IIUM to introduce yourself and your position.
Testing. Everyone can hear me, right? Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Isnu Adami Ahsanuddin, second year Kuliah of Pharmacy from IIUM, and I'll be the Prime Minister for today.
Hello, Assalamualaikum. I'm Nur Aina Albara. You can call me Al. I'm from Kuliah of Medicine, first year. I'll be the Deputy Prime Minister in today's debate.
Hello, Assalamualaikum everyone. I'll be going as a government whip. My name's Ayman and I'm from IIUM Kuliah of Engineering.
Next, I would like to invite debaters representing the opposition team from UMY to introduce yourself and your position.
Okay, thank you. Hello everyone. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Ivo. I'm from Leader of Opposition.
Hello everyone. Assalamualaikum. My name is Amirah. I'm as Deputy Leader of Opposition. Thank you.
Hello everyone, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. I am Filia as Opposition Whip from UMY. Thank you.
On behalf of the House, I extend a special welcome to our judges from AIUM, Sister Sumaya binti Mahmud Mim and Madam Bupuput from UMY in this debate. I, Nurul Shafika binti Yusriha, am delighted to be a speaker of the House for today's event. The rules and regulations were explained prior to this debate, and each speaker must abide by them. Without further ado, I would like to call upon the first speaker of proposition, the Prime Minister, to the floor. Let the debate commence.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and a very good evening I bid to the Honorable Chairperson, wise judges, precise timekeepers, members of the opposition, my colleagues from the government, and of course, members of the House. For today's debate session, I, as the Prime Minister, will be proposing the motion titled, "This House believes that the COVID-19 pandemic has affected the education quality of students around the world." Before we continue our session, I would like to introduce my teammates from the government. I, Isno Adam, will act as the Prime Minister, and I'll be presenting, defining, and introducing our motion for today, submitting our cases, and also our first argument. My deputy, Sister L, will rebut the points given by the leader of the opposition and will submit another 2 arguments from the government. Our government whip, Brother Aiman, shall rebut all the points given from the opposition and summarize our case for today. So let's start rolling the debate by introducing this House with the motion. We believe that the motion presented is to prove whether the COVID-19 pandemic had an influence, either good or bad, towards the education quality of different levels of institutions, i.e. universities, colleges, schools in the world, which is the status quo of our world today. We believe that this motion is undeniably true on the basis of its ongoing effects towards the education system around the world. Institutions, schools are being closed, students cannot go to classes, practicals and internships, everything from classes to assessments are being done at home. Surely it would be a lie if we say that there are no effects by the pandemic towards the quality of education when basic teaching and learning activities, such as simply going to school, is unachievable thanks to the pandemic. Therefore, no matter what the opposition may say in this August House, the motion of the debate will remain standing at the end of the day. So inshallah, today the government will be presenting 3 arguments, which are, number 1, economic impact of COVID-19 affects education quality. Number 2, COVID-19 has caused hindrance in the teaching and learning delivery. And number 3, equality in teaching is difficult to achieve in online learning. So now let's move on towards our first argument, which is the economic impact of COVID-19 on education quality. So as we all know, this pandemic has disrupted our lives in almost all aspects. Let it be through social, education, politics, environmental, economics. This pandemic affected every ounce of our lives in one way or another. Its effects on the economy can be seen when many economic sectors were forced to shut down, especially in the early days of the pandemic. Shops, factories, offices, and such were forced to halt operations, thus affecting their revenues. Not only that, government budgets are now focused on combating the pandemic by allocating funds into the healthcare sector. Thus, one of the affected sectors that had to be sacrificed to fight COVID-19 is the education sector. For example, in the US, the state of California has experienced a $1.7 billion cut to its higher education services. Colorado has experienced a 3.1 billion cut, and Ohio has seen a 110 million cut. Student enrollment also plays a major role in reducing revenue of institutions. Some universities and schools rely on student fees for funding, but this cannot happen when students cannot go to school, thus making revenue harder to obtain. We should also remember that without budgets, we cannot do basically anything, especially in education. Money is needed for education materials, facilities, staff payments, management. Research in universities requires funds, labs in schools require funds, teachers need to be paid to ensure they perform well, venues need to be maintained in good condition. Everything requires money. When these aspects are not funded well, the students shall be the ones who suffer. Even before the pandemic, we have heard of schools unable to organize their required labs due to budget cuts. Many educational activities cannot be done. Thus, the quality of education received by the students will be significantly affected. There's a report by the Learning Policy Institute, I quote, "A positive correlation between school funding and student outcomes. Bigger budgets particularly impact low-income students because their parents have fewer resources to lean on outside of the school. Another study found the reverse to be true as well. Spending cuts mean lower achievement for students. In fact, cutting a school's budget by just 10% has the same effect on test scores as replacing a school full of average teachers with all teachers in the bottom 10% of candidates. Of course, you don't need to have a teaching degree to know that test scores are not the only important student outcomes. Students who come from well-funded schools earn an average of 7% more in pay as adults. They also enjoy high school graduation rates than their peers who come from schools that experience budget cuts. Thus, through this evidence, we cannot deny that the budget impacts the quality of education the students will be receiving. Well, this is from the perspective of the institution. How about the students? How about their socioeconomic situation? How about students who live beyond the coverage of the internet? How about students of families who lost their source of income? Are we really going to say that the pandemic will not affect their education at all? We must remember that not all students can afford online education. Thus, if this situation does not improve to the point that they can go to school again, they will be left behind. And that is unfair for them, especially since quality education is one of the basic human rights dictated by the United Nations. Therefore, I would like to reaffirm again to this House that today's motion, this House believes that COVID-19 has affected the education quality of students around the world is indeed true, because the pandemic has indeed affected students' education quality around the world. The pandemic that struck the world by storm in the last 1.5 years, should we say that education quality is not affected, is a big mistake, considering what we have seen today. Thus, we urge this House to approve of this motion. Thank you.
Thank you. I would like to call upon the Leader of Opposition to open the case for their side.
Okay, thank you. Now I want to rebuttal I want to rebuttal from opinion about affirmative team, our government team. I hear about the economic side that the budget of each country has been considered, and then with the government have already has a solution to education. For example, the Indonesia state has a platform for provide TVRI television, not only for internet use. So the government have solution with the economic with the education in children in the world, like Indonesia or anything other country. Okay, thank you. I think enough for rebuttal. I can to say that my argument. Okay, thank you for so much for already pleasure. Good morning, or ladies and gentlemen. We are from opposition team. Now I want to the motion today is this House bill of the COVID pandemic has affected the education student of around the world. The definition of education in pandemic implementation that cycle distancing policy. The distancing policy later become and then basic for implementation learning from home with the sudden use information technology. Often surprise that educators student information technology learning that implementation that how in the world. However, online learning that took place as a surprise from pandemic COVID shock, not only for government, online for shock like district, cities, province, and center, and even the international community in general.
Right.
Not lowering but even increasing. No, thank you. In general, not lowering but even increasing the quality because student can repeat the material given video, PowerPoint, or etc. For the exciting decline is not because the pandemic, but because of the lack student or awareness. Then look for country data during the pandemic, but the education has increased and they analyze. Ladies and gentlemen, let's discuss even their still lessons. The lessons learned from pandemic COVID-19. This for has more the capacity of education in the world to be evaluated or evaluation, like our evaluation. To what extent of for capacity in the fight for stakeholders, not only for government, like or all stakeholder are we our teachers or parents, something like that. Often opportunity for parents to get know about more their child abilities. For the first, the other impact the character development of child soft skills, such as children being too much learn about anything, like say like cook together and then for cleaning home together and something like that. Second, children become creative with the use electronic with parental supervision at home. The third, emergency distance education portal from home, such as in example for other country for Pacific Asian, the portal for TV station, let me that TVRI, which has agenda educational being according to its class, like this one for 7 until 9 to clock of elementary school, and then last to for the school. So, ladies and gentlemen, now I want to tell you about impact technology. I can to argument for impact technology, and then who also for second speaker, and the third argument for elaborate. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to tell you about impact technology pandemic. Some parents express the positive impact areas the learning online, namely because the intensity of meeting children with parents is more than before. Parents are increasingly assumed for an accompany children to learn online. The formation for guardians at home, just a small example, discipline doing to take assigned by the school, and then how can parents for guardian direct this elementary school discipline and orderly in the assessment school. So we don't agree with this motion. Where the educational system will continue to jarring, and then the COVID pandemic is just the delivery is different to other country. The triggers every child to know about more creative and advanced and developing their creative ideas. And we don't agree with if the pandemic reduce quality of education system. It just the must to still able to adaptation to this situation. There are many examples from outside countries where educational and it continues for advance. For example, a teacher for private school or a teacher for high school in Paulo, Brazil, who he described a very special, said that he has been teaching using digital platform for before in my work. This is so pretty easy, so this is not shock to be other country to online school. And then I don't know, but I don't know about this motion, because this motion the impact for quality pandemic, the quality education in pandemic not really to reduce, but we are to still able and still to still able and then to adaptation with this situation. There are many examples from outside countries and where education continues to advance. Okay, for the next idea will be present by deputy leader of the opposition and opposition with thank you.
POI, please.
No, thank you.
Okay.
Now, I'd like to thank the speaker for their speech and welcome the second speaker of proposition, the Deputy Prime Minister, to continue the case for their side.
Testing. Okay, I'll start my speech in 3, 2, 3, 2, and 1. Ladies and gentlemen, due to the pandemic's economic impact alone, learning losses threaten to extend beyond this generation and raise decades and decades of progress. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. I bid to the honorable adjudicators, my worthy opponents, and also everyone present here today. So I'll do two things. I'll rebut some problematic ideas of the very mouth of the leader of opposition, and then I'll continue to give the government's positive materials. So the leader of opposition, she has made a sincere effort, but alas, there's misunderstandings I would like to clear up. So she mentioned that right now, internet Wi-Fi is accessible to most countries like Indonesia. But what she fails to realize is there are some poorer countries, such as, for example, Lebanon, who don't even have access to basic needs like electricity. No, I think that's something that we really need to understand. And right now, the government, we're not saying that there aren't any we're not like belittling that there aren't any negative effects, positive effects of the advancement in e-learning, but we're not dismissing that fact. We know that fact. So if the opposition agrees with that, then the opposition also agrees with our case. So with that out of the way, I will continue with my argumentation. Firstly, let me give you a bit of context. COVID-19, because it has an immediate impact because all the schools are closed and classes being held virtually online, nearly all of the world in Africa, Asia, Latin America. Children, especially the most vulnerable, which I will elaborate on later, may not come back because COVID-19, firstly, has caused a hindrance in the teaching and learning delivery. As mentioned by my Prime Minister, we have to understand that school systems run on money. It's impossible to provide access to schooling with limited financial resources. So the COVID-19, because it's first and foremost a health crisis and hospital beds and intensive care units are running out, and then doctors and nurses and healthcare workers are pushed to the edge of exhaustion, it's only natural that the government prioritizes them and allocates most of their budget to the healthcare sector. So it's a known fact from walking out and quittings of tens and thousands of teachers. As a result, educators are severely underpaid, especially in low-income countries, for example, in Argentina. So with the government slashing education budget because of the virus outbreak, teachers face even grimmer prospects because most of the higher educational institutions are reported to have affected steep salary cuts. Because with the government imposing restrictions on collecting full tuition fees, institutions are left with no option but to slash the salaries of teaching and non-teaching staff. And because of this, educators and teachers, they have tried to make ends meet, and what do? They work on other side hustles for additional income. So as a result of this, teachers and educators are not able to concentrate solely on their career, on the students, and they may be too tired to properly teach. And plus, while making ends meet and every day becoming the same blur stuck at home, can you actually blame them if their enthusiasm and the energy to teach is significantly declined? I don't think so. So next, teaching and learning delivery in these times are also hindered because of the abruptness of the situation. Teachers and administrations, they were unprepared for this transition. So this new unprecedented norm is a trial and error area for everyone, including both the teachers and students. However, for educators that are leaning towards the more elderly side, or for those who are like not as digitally literate, there is this educator incompetence, such as their technological, pedagogical knowledge. And then most of them are complacent and stuck with traditional modes of teaching. And because of this, some feel like they cannot teach properly and they feel demotivated, which in turn affects the quality of education. There is also a setback in teacher and learning delivery in higher institutions where more hands-on classes are needed. Because COVID-19 has curtailed face-to-face teaching, even laboratory sessions and practicals are performed virtually. So what associated with this is the halt of the delivery of practical experience required by, for example, medical students, engineering students, TVET students, the technical and vocational educational training program students, and so on and so forth. So at the University of Sheffield, there's this team called the MEE team, the Multidisciplinary Engineering Education team. They've responded to this problem by recording lab experiences, putting videos, quizzes, data online for students to engage with. This is to focus on achieving the learning outcomes. But even so, naturally, practical skills cannot be easily provided using this approach. Using online platforms such as Zoom, Microsoft Teams is not as effective for practical sessions as it is for informative lessons. So even though the students are able to understand the theory behind the practical, but you cannot expect that these students are able to perform such practices, because if someone carry out something which is easy, I personally wouldn't have given up on like knitting a long time ago by watching YouTube videos. So in essence, the learning process cannot reach its full potential until students practice what they learn. So another issue is e-learning hampers the communication between learner and educator, because direct communication and human touch is lost. So most students, they find online learning boring and unengaging. So because of this, there's no like two-way interaction, because it's difficult to implement that in e-learning. So online learning, also has so much time and flexibility that students never find time to do it, which is pretty ironic, right? Because time and location flexibility, although it is the strength of online learning, these aspects are very fragile and create problems. So many young students, especially in primary school or high school, like mentioned before, they find these classes unengaging. This leads them to have non-serious, nonchalant behavior in terms of time and flexibility, which can cause a lot of problems. And you cannot expect that these parents, the parents of these children, to, though they try, they cannot supervise them 24/7 because they also have their own work to attend to. So we must understand that these all students and learners are not the same. They vary in degrees of capabilities and confidence level. And for my last argumentation, which I will go through quickly, so we know that equality in teaching is difficult to achieve in online learning. So unequal distribution of academic resources, for example, school funding, qualified experienced teachers, books and technologies, and more for socially excluded communities. So this crisis is exacerbating the already pre-existing education disparities for the most vulnerable of children, which are those living in poor and rural areas, low income countries, girls, refugees, persons with disabilities, and also international students. So school closures related to this for example, in Lebanon, government-provided electricity is rationed, and those who cannot afford private generator are left without power. So the opposition just said just now that the internet is accessible to nearly the whole world. But isn't it answer like that the whole root of inequality, where, for example, a minority doesn't even have the basic need of like electricity? So I think I'm out of time. So yeah. So I've already made it clear that COVID-19 pandemic has affected not only our personal lives, but also the quality of our education. And with that, I urge you to propose. Thank you.
I'd like to thank the speaker for the remarks and welcome the Deputy Leader of Opposition to continue the debate for their side.
Thank you, everyone. The Deputy Prime Minister said that maybe a parent and also the government are worried about the economic aspect from the family, from the children to support the online classes. Maybe what you mean is from like equipment to support and provide the equipment. So I think you cannot you no need to worry with that, because the government in our country already provide so many help and so many services to help the student or children learn from home at this condition. And then you said that you also worry about the parent and parent accompanying their children. So it's because the children learn from home, so the parent can accompany more maximally. So I think the parent always try their best to give best supervision for their child. I think all of us in this room agree with that. Then I will I will
UI.
continue. No, thank you. I will continue my to my argument. So, ladies and gentlemen, as my also my leader said, that the current system of education doesn't affect the quality of the education itself. It's just a new condition that we have to face and bear with the preparation. The pandemic is the cause of the decline in the quality of education. I think we think it is a big mistake. The problem is not because of the pandemic, but the lack of awareness and community readiness. Community in this case are teachers and also students with distance learning. Ladies and gentlemen, we will give an analogy for this case, like in health world of health. So we cannot blame the pandemic that came to our life, but we have to control the pandemic. It is about the readiness of health workers and hospitals to control the healing. We have to face and control it. I think within this is the same thing, isn't it? And then there are countries that can maintain a good education with some innovation, including some countries that are ready for this condition, like I mentioned before. For example, my leader's statement said Indonesia, in accordance with the Ministry of Education and Culture, have a program, namely Learn from Home. So in this program, the television stations broadcast educational programs such as lessons of nursery school to secondary education, and then guidance for the parents and also the teachers, and also the cultural programs on the weekend. So it means this innovation can make the student and parent learn together from home. So there's no problem with that. And then
Your eye, please.
No, thank you. And then the other example, South Korea has one of the best IT infrastructure in the world because of the before of the pandemic. Korea has been realized about 99% of 4G coverage, and then 4G under implementation right now, and then about 75% of household had access to computers, and 99.5% had an internet access. So South Korea also expanded the public infrastructure by increasing e-learning platforms capacity to support the students. And then the government also provides a rentable devices at zero cost for the students, and offer this policy to the institution to support the online classes. And then another example based on the article, Singapore also has been developed in the last 2 until 3 years for this online method. And then some countries also provide a subsidy for free quota. Oh, this is so advantaging, and and this is the government provide us free quota, and then for all the students, and the students can use it, can receive it well, and this is so make it easier to student to get to keep studying from home. And then it's proof then that students can follow the school or college activity after they graduated. Ladies and gentlemen, let's take a look another aspect. So students still can go to college graduated on time and with an achievement. Pandemic is not affected quality of education at all. Learning activity can held as usual, like it's normal. The teacher keep teaching based on the curricula. The students following the lesson, doing tasks, kind of homework task is given. The lesson deliver nicely, and then it means that we can raise the same goal or standard from the education itself, according to the article on December 2020 by Johannes Engar. So there's a university in USA called Arizona State University. They have innovation that a program that can make the students in high school start the college earlier. That means we don't need to worry with if what if the student miss the college, or we have not to worry because there's an innovation like that. And then also one of university in Yogyakarta also graduated about 1,000 students, and 90% of 90% for that from that student can get a cum laude predicate. And then also the other university, Gajah Mada University, this is they also send their student to follow the international competition. It's a Osaka University student video contest. So that means we can also develop their soft skill beside the formal material or from the school or from the college. So what I said that this based on all of those arguments, we once again we disagree with that motion, because the pandemic is not affected the quality of education in this world. Education in this world is fine, and the quality of education is so good. So just try to adapt and become more innovative. Thank you.
Thank you for your remarks. I would like to call upon the government whip to deliver his speech.
Am I audible? All right, so I'm gonna assume I'm audible, so I'll begin my speech in 3, 2, 1. Panel, understand the fact that entire opposition's case is extremely nitpicking, and they're dismissive of the struggles that poor children or people in different other fields face, right? And they use their entire argument is just basically using nitpicking statistics of privileged people, privileged communities who are already in a position of privilege, and they're using that to justify that no one else has been affected. And they have been extremely dismissive of our points of all the poor people, all the children in other fields, all the students and medical students, international students, and the budget cuts. They haven't engaged with any of those arguments and gave you statistics, which even they didn't say 100%. They said 97% people haven't been affected. So I think their entire model is flawed. So I'm going to be doing two things primarily in my speech. Firstly, I'm going to be rebutting everything that doesn't fit into my substantive. And secondly, I'll point out the clashes in this debate and tell you why exactly do we win on every single clash. But first of all, let's just rebut the few remarks that came and that doesn't fit into my substantive. So firstly, I think Elo's and like the leader of opposition's entire case was extremely elitist and exclusionary. And the model that they assume in Indonesia is like they only center it around people who live in, let's say, live in Jakarta or who live in like other big cities. They don't even take into account the fact that people who live in, let's say, smaller islands, who don't have access to internet, who don't have access to like, let's say, other things, they don't even consider about those people. And so like, and it is evidently, so even their model by itself is quite flawed because they don't consider those people, those marginalized communities, or even the poor children in bigger cities. Yeah, sure.
Okay, you said that some maybe some place cannot feel the connection or cannot feel the online method. We have that in some isolation village in Indonesia have a method that they are offline method that they're
Can you please speed up because my time's running out?
okay. In our country, as Gunung Kidul in Gunung Kidul village is a isolation village, but they can still have solved the stakeholder have solved to their education quality.
I think I understood your point. You're saying like in every remote village there's internet connection, right? But even if there's internet connection, you cannot say that it's 100% there. But even if there's internet connection, you have to admit that the richer children probably have better connection and the poorer children probably have less access to it. By in itself means that the poor children face lesser quality because they don't have the same set of resources, which means that your argument is elitist and your argument is exclusionary of those marginalized communities. Right? So I don't think your point's set. But moving on to like their entire point as to what parents try to provide the best for their kids. Right? I think this is extremely dismissive because understand that this also means that you're going to tell people that, oh, you're poor parent. If people come from like poor backgrounds and if the parents don't have enough money, they're not able to provide the kids with the same set of resources as a richer parent, right? So are you going to tell those parents that, oh no, you're a bad parent because you're not giving the same set of resources as a richer parent? So that also is extremely discriminatory to those people and those poorer parents because that is what you're pushing for the burden. Let's say that their argument about South Korea, right? That it is true that 97% of the people haven't been affected and they actually have better access to education and etc. But what does this mean, right? They still agree that 3% people have been affected. 3% people, and I think that percentage enough is proof enough for us to prove that these people have been affected. Because understand that if 3% people experience poor quality, that by itself means that your entire this pandemic, what it has imposed, it has only benefited the richer people, and not just benefited because those people also get marginalization because they're not able to get the same stuff. Moving on to the classes, right? I think a lot of my time was actually wasted because of the POI, so I'll take 3 seconds extra. Ensures better accessibility, right? So why do we say the first class, which side is able to prove that we get better accessibility? What do we tell you? I think that they tell you that they have better accessibility because of internet. But what do we tell you? We tell you that this is wrong and they haven't been engaging with our case because they completely choose to ignore the fact of different communities that exist and their only argument is centered around specific cases. They don't do consider the whole. But as we mentioned earlier, their case is also exclusionary of poorer countries, as Elle mentioned, of all the other countries, like let's say in Africa or in Latin America and other countries, but also in the same country that they live in, there are poor communities that exist. Now, how do we engage with this class? We tell you that the accessibility is limited for these communities, and we have given you constructive reasons as to why and how these communities are particularly affected. But also how these people, when you actually don't have better connection, better resources, what does it mean for your quality of education, and how does it affect you in terms of engagement and in terms of accessibility? Right? We're moving on to the second class. But in terms of budget and policy-wise, why do we take this class? I think the opposition comes up here and tells you that budget cuts are not likely going to happen. But understand that this argument is extremely illogical. Why is this illogical? Firstly, understand that in a country when your hospitals are overburdened, your economy is driven to the ground. I don't think the first thing in a government's mind is going to be oh, let's just send all my money to the education. That's just illogical to assume. What they're going to do is that they're going to cut this budget and they're going to allocate, take your funding from the education and going to put it into, as my first speaker mentioned that they're going to put it into like other fields which are like extremely crucial. So when you have less budget, as we mentioned, for the education, that means that quality of education is likely going to be affected. But moving on to the third class, right, and micro level and individual basis and case by case basis, what do we tell you? We told you in terms of like, let's say, teachers incentives, students incentives, students in practical fields, and international students. Why does like teachers have actually like less incentive to teach when they don't get enough money? Because as we mentioned, the budgets are going to be cut. So teachers not getting enough money, as El mentioned, that these teachers will not have the same sort of incentive, because if you're not getting the same set of money, you will not be motivated to teach, because why will you teach, right? And you'll have to look for side income, so you're not going to be able to provide the best education to the kids. So what this means is that these students are further affected and their quality is further affected because they're not able to get the same set of education that they were getting before, and the teachers don't have the same set of motivation. But I understand that we also engage in terms of like students, let's say in practical fields and medical and other fields, who are not able to get benefit from the resources, because understand that if a student is going to medical schools and all your learning is through an online platform, as the opposition is suggesting, you don't have any experience of doing surgery. So will you trust a doctor that actually never had experience in surgery? That doesn't make sense. Or will you trust an engineer to fix your machine or fix your computers that doesn't even know how this works? That doesn't make sense. So these people are affected, and we need to consider that, and we need to take this into account. So lastly, right, we talk about international students who have been disfranchised and who don't live in the same platform. I think that these students have been mentally affected, and we engage into those terms, and also students under different communities, since there's like a gap and since there's like COVID-19 restrictions. When you have a toll on mental health, it also means your quality is affected. So I think we were able to best engage in every single basis, and the opposition side was extremely dismissive of all our arguments. And for those reasons, we deserve to take the win. Thank you, everyone.
I'd like to thank the speaker for that speech. Now I shall invite the opposition whip to deliver her speech.
Okay, thank you. The success of a country can be seen from how they solve a problem. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Filia as opposition whip from UMY. Today we are talking about this House belief that COVID-19 pandemic has affected the education quality of students around the world. In this night's occasion, I will read some my team arguments. But before that, I want to say about the government arguments. Actually, we said it is false when the government said that the education system right now is affected the quality of educations. The main problem is not because the pandemic or COVID-19, but it depends on the awareness and preparedness of students, teachers, and also stakeholders with distance learning or online method. Distance learning or online method is an education method that already exists before the pandemic. The PM said that I bold about the economic it's related to the pandemic. The economic, I think economic is government it is just government, it is government for government, and the students or teachers can think about it. How is my LO says that the Ministry of Education and Culture, for example, in Indonesia, is subsides conference quota to the students and teachers. It is an alternative way, we think, of the government to relieve the students and the teachers to hold an online meeting, so they are feel helped by the government. I think it is the solve about the economic situations. And
Yeah,
then no, thank you. And then beside that, in fact, students why we are disagree with this motion is, in fact, students need to know more about technology, and it can create their creativity. Because of the pandemic require online method, so the students must know how to use some platform like Google Meet, Zoom meeting, Microsoft Team, and etc. It can develop their creativity of using electronic tools like laptop or computer. I think the quality of education is more developed when they know more about technology.
UI, please.
No, thank you. And then the next is, it is it is not affected the quality of education because students can reply the material that their school or the teacher give to them. Exactly, this term can develop their quality and doesn't reduce their quality. And then, uh, in Indonesia, I want to explain from the example from Indonesia. Uh, Students can learn more via TV programs. The Ministry of Education and Culture in Indonesia was collaborate with TV channel. It is TVRI that show education program named Learning from Home. It is explained by my second speaker. This aim is to keep this program is have aims to keep quality education where the students can still learn academic lessons that show by the channel. I think it is also be resolved the problem that in isolation village cannot have uh, unstable connections. They can still learn by the TV program or radio. And then uh, before this pandemic has begun, some country already exists with online method before pandemic. For example, Sao Paulo, Brazil, has been using digital platforms for 5 years. And in Germany too, they lend a laptop to their students for online lecture. And also the Japan, my second speaker said that Japan also distribute online learning tools to their teacher during the pandemic. Beside that, students also can still get some achievement during the pandemic. For example, Arizona State University made a program named Early College Experience, where the high school students can start the college earlier by online. With this program, when the student graduate from their senior high schools, they just continued their college just for in 4 semesters. And the other example is Gadjah Mada University also still can send their students to international Olympiad and won the competitions like video competitions. Through this way, the students still can make an achievement and develop their soft skills. And also, I want to set example from Muhammadiyah Yogyakarta University also can still graduate their students with their best score, like they have cum laude and etc. So overall, education in this world is fine. The quality of education is good. This pandemic doesn't affect the quality of education, but it depends. It depends on the awareness and the preparedness of students and teachers to survive the situations. If the anticipation is great, the quality will always be great too. The conclusion of this discussion is, in these pandemic situations, force us to be more innovative. Thank you.
Thank you to all debaters. Now, I shall pass the floor to the judges for the question and answer session with debaters. Each team will be given 5 minutes to answer. Please welcome Madam Bu Puput to give question to the proposition team.
So, sorry, I think I missed the meeting session before the debate, but let me clarify. So I'll give the first question to the government side of the house first, or should I go with the government side first?
Yes.
Just to confirm. All right. So I think it's very interesting to hear your debate, and then that you brought. So sorry, it's not the adjudicating session first, but like let me clarify this and address to the government side of the house. So one of the first job or first responsibility for the government side is to establish the motion and to define the motion in which it is in the level that it's debatable for both sides of the house. So like what the all the three speakers have mentioned, that the COVID-19 pandemic basically has magnified the inequality that has been existed and among the disparity of the education throughout the world. So those who have like higher budgets will for sure will be affected, but there's these pre-existing conditions of disparity between of the quality of the education among countries. So what I would like the affirmative side of the house to clarify is that, first of all, if only you'd like to bring the motion in a way that it is in a way that it is more, how could I say, but more debatable for both sides of the house. Regardless, I've heard what you have said and what the opposition side of the house have mentioned, but if you can redefine or reestablish the motions into something which is more debatable for both sides of the house, how would you bring this into the conversation? Would you give like some limitation to the motion or the context? So I'd like to hear about that. Thank you. Do I make myself clear? Or for the government side?
Sorry, you asked us. So you asked us what we changed in the motion to make the debate more balanced.
I think that's what I'm trying to see. If only you've got the second chance. I've heard your all of your cases and arguments and your rebuttals, which are great. But if only you've got the second chance to bring to define the motion in a more balanced sense. So how would you like to do that?
Well, if I were to bring the motion to a more balanced sense, I wouldn't say that it has affected the educational quality, because of course it has. So maybe affected negatively or positively, I guess, in my opinion.
Sure.
Ayman and Isnul?
Yeah, can I add something? I think that if we were to just ignore the inequality aspect, if we were taking into consideration the other factors, such as the ones we mentioned, like students in like every different fields, like medical fields and engineering fields and other fields, and in terms of quality, all those things we mentioned, we could have, if we were to be more generous to the opposition side, and we will ignore that one and we'll focus on in terms of quality and in terms of whether the quality is like the best efficacy, right? Medical students and engineering students, are they able to get the same set of access and same set of quality online versus offline? So we will compare those perspectives, which we did, but we could have extended that, ignoring being more generous to opposition side.
All right. Anything to add? Oh, no. No? All right. Okay, so all right. So this is my first time adjudicating online debate anyway. So, but I guess that's what I'd like to hear, because I think rephrasing Ayman's term that to be more generous, I think one of the things that we need to build if you want to leverage your debate is that bringing if you're aware that the motion might give more advantage to one side of the house, then it is also fair to bring the motion. If you want to leverage the debate, for sure, you may want to bring it to more balanced motion and bring it to bring more balanced definition of the motion. But for sure, if only you said what it is, then it's actually the opposition side of the house job to actually clarify that or redefine the motion if they wanted to, but they don't. So that's not your fault or anything. It's just that I'm so curious about that because I've heard all of your cases. Thank you. That's all from me.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Now, please welcome Sister Sumaya binti Mahmud Mim to give question to the opposition team.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. this is also my first time doing this adjudicating online or like any debate tournament for the first time. But the motion was very interesting. I really loved all of your cases. The question that I have for the opposition team is that you kept telling about how the education quality depends, or how the study, the motion depends on the awareness of the students and teachers. Like, could you like explain how it depends, like how this awareness gonna help the education quality during this pandemic? If you don't get my question, you can ask again. I can explain it.
We got it. We have 5 minutes, right?
Sorry, I couldn't hear it.
We got your question, and we have 5 minutes for answer.
Of course, you can take it.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, thank you for question. I think for the depend and awareness from explain the motivation from parents, and then collaborate with the government, teachers, and then the other stakeholder can be motivate the children to being able to adaptation with this situation. For explain about anything for easy or not easy for being able for learning or during online. I can for I think for can explain some question with other teachers to explain about your about not easy to during pandemic. But I think for the third speaker and second speaker added for my argument, Fulia and Mira.
Now that the preparedness and the awareness of the students and also the government or stakeholder, it is, for example, in Paulo, Brazil, they has been exist the online method for about 5 years before the
5 years.
pandemic. So I think in the Brazil it is good preparedness for this situation, I think.
Good practice. Okay.
You mean like, so this was your solution? Like other countries could look how Brazil and Indonesia are doing and they can implement in their countries as well. Like, was it something like that?
Sorry?
Was it like a solution, like your examples from Brazil and Indonesia? And like this can be implemented in other countries as well?
I think for the other countries have to solution with that educational. From example for Indonesia, I think not only for privilege except for access internet, but for Indonesia have to support for platform like TVRI every morning, like to discuss about study in elementary, junior high school, and senior high school, and solution for the government. Free
So you're
quotes.
talking, yeah, like the meeting, you know, the parents meeting, something like that. So did you get me? Like your whole point was about, you know, how they can reach out to parents more easily with their kids beside them. Is it something like that?
In Indonesia, have can I'm not to when children not to online or study online can collaborate with the parents, with teacher, and stakeholders.
I see. I see. Okay.
Thank
All right.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you to all judges and both teams. Now, we are going to take a short break of 3 minutes. During this time, both government and opposition teams will prepare the reply speech.
Sorry for opposition. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, now I want to tell about impact technology in area pandemic. Some parents express the positive impact that areas learning online, namely they feel closer to children. Of course, this happened because the intensity of meeting children with the parents is more than before. Parents are increasingly assume the accompany children to learn online. The formations of some character to should be formed at school slowly being formed. Habitation
Me?
of parent and guardian. Okay.
Now we are going to have a break for 3 minutes.
Oh, okay.
The time of 3 minutes has ended. It is now to turn back to the teams for their final speeches. Each team is given 3 minutes, starting first with the opposition. Please welcome the opposition summary speaker.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, now I want to tell you about impact technology in area pandemic. Some parents express the positive impact the areas they learning online, and then for them that felt closer with the children. Of course, this happens too because for the intensity of meeting children with parents is more than before. Parents are increasingly essential to accompany children, and then for the formation of some characters that should be before. And so we don't agree with this motion, where the educational system will continue to run during the COVID-19 pandemic. It does the delivery different in each country. It triggers every child to be more creative and advance in developing their ideas and strategies to this pandemic reduce the quality of education system. It is just that we must still be able to adaptation to this situation. There are many examples from outside countries where education conflict. And then I think for other countries have solution for education, economic or anything for increasingly education in pandemic. So thank you.
I'd like to thank the speaker for that summary and welcome the proposition summary speaker to sum up their theme and the debate as a whole.
Can you give me a few seconds? Okay. Okay. I will start in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. And hello again to this debate for today. So I would like to reiterate again, our motion today is this House believes that COVID-19 has affected the education quality of students around the world. So what is this debate all about? So we believe that the government, we as the government believe that the pandemic continues to affect education sector. That is a fact that we cannot lie. The purpose of the debate is for the government, it is to prove whether it is truly affecting the education or not. And the burden on the opposition for us to oppose this motion is to prove that there are no effects caused by the pandemic on the education sector. For the points, we have given 3 points to this House, which is the economic impact of COVID towards education, teaching and learning hindrance due to COVID, and also the inequality caused by COVID-19, or at least exacerbating the already existing inequality in education. While the points given by the opposition seems like they've said that online education is better and there are no changes in education budget, and also they gave also statistics on mostly developed countries, which is not around the world, clearly defined in the motion. So in a world where we accept this motion, which is I believe that this House should, because the motion today we describe clearly what is really going on right now, and it is also very realistic because we can see it right in front of our eyes that COVID-19 affects not just education sector but everything, social, economics, basically everything, and we are living through it right now. And in a world where we reject the motion, the opposition must prove that they have that there is no change at all happening during the pandemic, and that the pre-COVID situation remains for the students. And all these are wrong, and they have never pointed out any points that can prove that this is true, that this motion is false. And not only that, they are also putting their main stand is that they said that the quality of education is deteriorating because because the students are lacking awareness, teachers are lacking awareness to prepare. The thing is, we don't expect this pandemic to happen in the first place. So how do you can really expect that that students and teachers can really expect that something as big as this COVID-19 pandemic occurs? So therefore, I believe that this motion should be given to the government, because we have provided concrete evidence. We have continued to stand strong in our opinion despite the allegations made by the opposition, and also the opposition have failed to rebut any of our points. And we believe that in their heart also that they are agreeing with this motion. Therefore, we as the government continues to remain strong with this motion. Thank you very much.
Thank you to all speakers for the great debate. Let's give them a last round of applause. Now, I would like to invite fellow judges to start with a feedback session. Dear Sister Sumaya binti Mahmud Min, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Okay, I'll start with the government team. Good job, guys. I haven't seen you debate ever, so I was really looking forward to it. I really liked how you guys gave a lot of arguments. That was really good. And the thing is, when you give a lot of arguments, you're supposed to explain why and how your point is valid, right? So I think in the Deputy Prime Minister's speech, it was kind of missing, because she was jumping from points to points. Just, I get it. This habit. So I think a lot of practice will definitely improve that. And Prime Minister, you defined it, but I think you could have defined it in much in the, so that it was debatable for for the opposition team as well. And the quality and everything you guys answered. So also one specific point I'd like to point out, that when Deputy Prime Minister said that it hampers communication between the teacher, it becomes boring. Sometimes this boringness, it depends on the teacher, right? They can make it interesting, and they can always make the class interesting. And since the students already have the phone, they can always reach out to their teachers, right, if they have any questions. So I think, as repetitive my points, when you bring an argument, you try to make it valid why your house is taking that side, why we should believe on what you were saying, right? And right, in the government whip also did a good job. You did a good job by not bringing in new points. That's really good. And yeah, I think overall I liked it. That was really nice. For the opposition team, so I liked how you guys gave solid facts. That's always good. But when you give examples, try to explain why your examples are supporting the motion. Don't just leave the examples hanging. For example, you gave the examples of USA and Brazil and Indonesia. So maybe it could be your solution for your motion, that other countries could adapt to it. That's why I kept asking, was this your solution or not? And also for opposition whip, try not to bring in new points, okay? It's not your job. Your job is to completely summarize whatever the other two said in your team, okay? So yeah, so, I think I will stop here. I can actually give a lot of feedback, but I can't give a lot. I think that's all from me. Thank you.
Thank you, Sister Sumaya. Now, Madam Bu Puput, the floor is yours.
All right, thank you very much. So anyway, first of all, let me clarify this. You can call me Madam Puput or Bu Puput in Indonesian, but please don't call me Madam Bu Puput. It's kind of okay, but no worries. It's just some jokes. I'm just joking anyway. So, but anyway, let me get to some points that about today's debate. First of all, I'd like to congratulate both of the team, the opposition as well as the government side of the house. You've both of the teams have demonstrated great critical thinking in terms of how you assess the current situations and how your attempts in looking at the cases in other countries, which is very good. So, and this is a good starting point in being critical in looking at our status quo and the current situations, as well as it's also good in a way that it's exercising our critical thinking in looking at the situations. That's one thing that I'd like to congratulate. Then let's go to today's debate. First of all, let's go to the government side of the house. What I'd like from the government team is that that you have like a very strong point and in elaborating your case, like you're very persistent in maintaining your standpoints from the beginning of the debate up until the end. And the second thing that I'd like from your team in general is that how you are responsive to towards the rebuttal, that several rebuttals given addressed by the opposition side of the house, and how you are also being critical in giving the rebuttal consistently on what have not been addressed in the previous speaker. So that's one of the that's two things that I mainly applaud from your debate. Well, from the opposition side of the house, what I like from your debate is that first of all you bring a lot of examples, and then the second of all is that you're also persistent in maintaining your standpoints. Well, there are several things that can be improved from both sides of the house. I believe that the opposition side of the house may leverage the debate if only they can actually I believe that first of all, this motion might not come as one of the most favorite motions for both of the team. As you may have noticed as debaters, so it's important to maintain like balanced motions since the beginning of the debate. However, I guess especially the opposition side of the house, I believe that you guys noticed in your case building that this is going to be hard for you. That's proving the otherwise that the COVID-19 pandemic may not affect the current situations of the education, especially coming from the countries in which the education is very hampered due to this situation. It must be very tough for you. However, one of the creative way in looking at this kind of tricky motion is that to look at that, for example, the motion that this house believed that COVID-19 pandemic has affected the education quality. So one thing that you may focus the attention is not necessarily the effect, the terms that whether this affects this, but whether this is the main cause of these situations. So you may offer several. So especially for the opposition side of the house, you may offer several other factors that may affect this current difficult situations of education sector. For example, you may take a look at yes, you mentioned about the teachers lack of quality, etc. However, if you can refer to what the government side of the house has mentioned about that there's actually this pre-existing conditions of disparity of the quality of education, you can start from there and see that actually maybe it's not necessarily the COVID-19 that worsened this situation. It may be something else, be it the government decisions, be it the political conditions or other factors. Yes, you mentioned about the teacher shortage, etc., but I think you don't come from the very strong points, because yes, the teachers have been different, but then there's something else greater than the teachers, and you don't really explore about the stakeholders. So I think if you can actually explore on that and like broaden your views during the case building and brought up to like so that you can drive the directions of the debate into that way that may be more balanced for you. And then yes, actually you can do that since the very first since the I mean, you can the leader of opposition can certainly bring that by refuting the definitions given by the affirmative side of the house, but it's actually it is not refuted, so it's assumed that it is accepted. So which is actually one of the things that you can actually explore better during the debate. So I guess the negative side of the house, I believe that you have demonstrated like it's clear. I don't know whether you've done like a lot of rehearsal or not, but it's quite clear from how you debate that you've demonstrated like certain amount of experiences in debating, and which is very good. And I believe that one of the things that may leverage your performance in other debate competitions is that, first of all, you've done well in like structuring your debate. However, like now one of the things that can also be improved is that like you put more structure into your debates, like referring to what has been mentioned. Yes, you've done this, but like for example, you've mentioned about the for example, the two arguments, and then you mention like the member of the house can explain like the first argument is this, and then this, and then in a more structured and giving like more examples, even using anecdotes, that is fine, because sometimes statistics, sure, it says a lot. However, anecdotes can actually bring more narratives into your debates, and that can actually strengthen your cases. You've done good, I guess, like what I've mentioned earlier even in reply speech, but I guess if you want to improve your debate, that is one of the things that you can do. So but after all, I guess I do agree what Ms. Sumaya has mentioned, that the opposition side of the house has mentioned a lot about that they necessarily neglect the current situation, that we're fine, we're doing fine. And so I don't think that that is the case with debate. It is okay to accept the situation that we're not fine. That is more that this kind of vulnerability of acknowledging that we're not fine, but like giving the strong points of, but this is something that we've done and this is the best that we can do. So I think that will appear stronger to your debate. So so I guess that's also another thing that the opposition side of the house can improve in their other competitions. So I guess that's all from me. I've done a lot of talking, so but it's nice seeing all of the great faces and like enthusiastic debaters in these circumstances. So thank you thank you very much. I end my case.
Can I like bring another point? I really want to point out. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
I'll just bring one last point for the opposition team. You could do one thing when you were talking about the government and teacher and students. You could bring points like students are under parental supervision, and when you were in a house together with your family, which you don't usually get, like before pandemic, we were all out busy with schools, our father busy with their office work, so we couldn't really get to have that connection with the family. You could bring those points and like say that if your mental health gets better that way, like your parents are there, you get to see your family members all day, you get to talk to your siblings, you get to have fun with your parents. You could bring those points and tell that these enhance study qualities, or you don't have to worry about your food or anything, because it's your parents are always bringing you food. For college students, like I'm just giving you examples so that like this is how you could have made your argument stronger. But other than that, everything else was really good. Like I really enjoyed it. Both the teams, amazing job. Thank you.
Thank you to both team and to both judges. Again, thank you to both judges for refined comments and remarks. Now, the most awaited moment for this event, let us give space for our judges to decide for the winners for the debate today. Dear judges, you may enter the breakout room for the final decision of the winners. You are given a maximum of 8 minutes to discuss and come up with a final decision. You may enter this meeting again upon discussion. Meanwhile, I shall pass the floor to our MC while waiting for the judge's decision.
Dear participants, while waiting for the judge's decision, you may vote for your winning team in the polling given at the chat box and YouTube's comment section. Let us see who wins your heart. Please be reminded that the voting will not be counted as a score. The result will be determined fully by fellow judges. Don't forget to fill in the attendance and feedback form in the chat box and also in the YouTube's comment section. We appreciate your help in evaluating this program. Thank you.
Hi, can anyone bring me to the breakout room again? I think, hi. Any comedy here can bring me to the breakout room again?
Sure. Wait,
Thank you.
Oke dah, kita dah. Okay. Nice.
bad days and bad nights, but I never ask for your help. You got hurt, but we don't belong together. So you took the love from my arms into the arms of yours, but I don't need a cure for me. I don't need it. No, I don't need a cure for me. I don't need it. No, I don't need a cure for me. I don't like the tension, the misapprehensions about our nature in love. The glorious teachers are no use for creatures who knows how to play with the gods. You got the nerves, but they never show unless they hurt. So you blamed it all on my love. The movie hard I got, but I don't need a cure for me. I don't need it. No, I don't need a cure for me. I don't need it. No, I don't need a cure for me. Please, no cure for me. Please, no cure for me. Cure for me. Cure for me.
Welcome back, judges and Speaker of the House. You may take over for the final result.
Thank you, Master of Ceremony. So now is the time. I would like to announce the winner of debate today is Okay, everyone, it's the time. I would like to announce the winner of the debate today is Team Government from International Islamic University, Malaysia. Congratulations to the winning team for today. Let's give them a big round of applause. Well done to the winning team. With this success comes greater opportunity and challenges. With the same zeal as you always have, congratulations. To the other team, be strong as you fight your way to success. The difficulty you face is nothing compared to the joy of success. You have put in a lot of effort. Congratulations too. Thank you to all judges, debaters, and audience. Now, I shall pass the floor to the MC.
Thank you very much, our Speaker of the House, fellow judges, and all debaters from UAY and IIUM for an amazing session just now. We hope all participants can use the knowledge and output obtained to prepare ourselves better in the future. On behalf of the organizing committee, we would like to apologize for any shortcomings throughout the program. Dear participants, kindly be informed again to fill in the attendance and feedback form given in the chat box and YouTube's comment section. We appreciate your help in evaluating this program. Thank you for joining this session. Remarking the event today, we provide to you some flashbacks throughout today's program. We are glad to announce the winners of the game slot session today and closing speech from our Deputy Dean Student Engagement and Committee from Kuliah of Nursing, Assistant Professor Dr. Anyawanis binti Mahtar, and also from Principal Mahala Fatimah Azahra, Assistant Professor Dr. Norma binti Harun from International Islamic University Malaysia, Kuantan Campus. Let us enjoy the video that has been prepared by the committee.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Very good evening, I beg to fellows, lecturers, and staff of IUM Kuantan, staff of Universitas Muhammadiyah Yogyakarta, okay, invited speakers and moderators, collaborators from Universitas Muhammadiyah Yogyakarta, program manager, organizing committees, and all dearest participants and students. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. All praises are to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the Almighty, creator of heaven and the earth. Peace and blessing be upon our adored Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, his companions and immediate families, as well as those who follow the right path. First and foremost, I would like to congratulate the organizer for making this program a success amidst this COVID-19 pandemic. The aims of this program is mainly to provide guidance for participants regarding non-communicable disease prevention at all levels, to promote Malaysian culture and healthcare practices at the international level, and to provide a platform for as an international youth platform to develop and engage in the participatory development of the world. IUM Kuantan Campus are delighted to be invited by Universitas Muhammadiyah Yogyakarta as a co-host to hold a sub-program in the 7th International Nursing Summer School, INSS. This program provides a great platform for the students to engage with other students from various countries and different universities. The committees had successfully organized a forum, shows, game slot, and mock debate match between IUM Kuantan and UMY in the hope it will achieve the program objective. As a science-based student, one should be aware of the healthcare practice and the variety of diseases, especially the non-communicable diseases, as in the line with the theme of INSS this year. We should not be caught off guard from any non-communicable diseases and do mind your physical and mental health as we put our current focus on how we can reduce the COVID-19 daily cases in Malaysia. As said by Claire Fagin, knowledge will bring you the opportunity to make a difference. I hope this program has given you new insights to apply in your life. In conclusion, again, I would like to congratulate Mahala Fatimah Az-Zahra Representative Committee 2020-2021 and Nursing Student Society 2020-2021, and not to forget the Students Committee for organizing this program. I wish to acknowledge our organizer, Universitas Muhammadiyah Yogyakarta, for giving full support and cooperation at the highest level to ensure the successful of this program. With lafaz Bismillahirrahmanirrahim, I officially officiate the closing ceremony of the sub-program Mirror of Health 2021. Wabillahi taufiq wal hidayah. Wassalamualaikum.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. And a very good evening on the blessed day to fellow lecturers and staff of IIUM Kuantan Campus, invited speakers and moderator, collaborators from Universitas Muhammadiyah Yogyakarta, program manager, organizing committees, and dearest participants. We thank and praise Allah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam for giving us this opportunity to be gathered here in making the end of Mirror of Health 2021. Brothers and sisters, first and foremost, I would like to express my appreciations to the organizing committee from Mahalah Representative Committee Fatimah Az-Zahra 2021 and Nursing Student Society 2021 of IIUM Kuantan Campus. I also wanted to take the time to thank Universitas Muhammadiyah Yogyakarta, especially for inviting us to organize this sub-program in International Nursing Summer School 2021. Brothers and sisters, as we are currently still fighting with the pandemic COVID-19, there are limitations in physical movement to perform any face-to-face activities. Therefore, I can say that online platforms are the best medium to channel our knowledge together in order to stay connected, especially for any international programs. Alhamdulillah, we have made it for this time. Brothers and sisters, I can see various activities were carried out and a lot of output that can be obtained throughout the end of the sessions. Congratulations to all participants. You have put your efforts to join these programs. Brothers and sisters, I hope that you have benefited from some, if not all, the activities during the Mirror of Health 2021. The takeaways from these activities should be shared and practiced. Lastly, I thank you for your presence today, and I hope to see more programs alike in the future. May Allah shower upon us His blessing. Wassalam and thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you for the multimedia presentation just now. Now, let's proceed with the photography session. I would like to invite the Pabro committee to conduct the photography session.
Okay, Assalamualaikum. So, open your camera and smile in front of your camera. Okay. So for the last one, photo 1, 2, 3, smile. Okay, another one. 1, 2, 3, smile. All right, thank you guys. I pass to MC.
Thank you. We have reached the end of our program. Huge gratitude I bid to all committees, all collaborative parties, and their voluntary participants throughout this program. We hope that you gain something useful from us today. Thus, let us close our event with Tasbih Kafarah and Surah Al-Ans. You may be dismissed now. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you.
Thank you.